Hello, everyone. I am now live. This is Doctor of Stuff. Welcome to the Doctor of Stuff channel. As always, anything I say here should not be construed as financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. I'm just providing my opinion. And what I'm doing today is updating on day 2 of NFT NYC. My main focus today actually was to go down to the main floor of the convention and walk around to all of the different projects that were there and talking about their projects and kind of find out what companies are paying right now that they're building, and they're like, hey, we're trying to promote our project right now, kind of during the bear market, and what's being built, or is there any new technologies or any things that are coming down the pike that I wasn't aware of. And so I definitely want to touch on some of these. And so I'm gonna start here. I'm gonna pull up my list. So the first project that I talked to, really interesting. It was called Mimicry. So mimicry.org is the website, and I'm trying to find their little card here. So it's just this picture of an NFT. I'm trying to find. There's the camera, obviously, right? And if you see here, like it's got this price point up here, like plus 10.2%. And what they have done is they have developed a platform where you can long and short the price volatility of NFTs. Pretty fascinating for me. I'm gonna definitely look into that some more. But obviously, you're gonna have to have a lot of people wanting to use that for it to actually work, because you have to have someone on the long position and someone on the short position to be willing to make those trades. But it is an interesting concept, and I do think that, I mean, we're already seeing, these NFTs being used as collateral for loans. And I think that this is the next step of a trading derivative, right? Is they're like, okay, well, now we're going to trade the price volatility of these NFTs, and people can long them or short them. The concern I have with that is could someone who knows inside information about a project that's going to come out, they go onto this and then they long it because they know that there's going to be some information coming out soon that's going to pump the price of that. For me, I like the use case, but it's way too early for me to dabble in something like that, especially in this space that's not very regulated, and potential insider trading information that can go on there. So I am not going to mess with that at all. But hey, before I get too far into things, I didn't do this last time, but if you could all smash, push, crush, or even gently caress the like button, the subscribe button, and the all notifications button. Definitely trying to grow my channel and get this, what I feel like is a measured approach to mainly VV. Like that's one of the biggest projects that I'm in, but any project that I'm looking at, providing just that measured approach, and with the background that I have in financial analysis and regulations, that if that's beneficial, I'd love to get this channel out to more people. So you can do that. You can also subscribe, or really subscribe to the channel. I made that banner and I'd never done that before. So anyways, okay, on to the next project. Well, so I did actually go and I talked, Immutable X had a pretty big booth there. Shout out to them. They were giving these dope sweaters out. And so each time you go to NFT NYC, they have additional patches that you can then get ironed on. So that was fun. And it was just interesting to talk to them. I mean, Immutable X, they really are building out the gaming platforms. And I do think that is one of the biggest things I think from this conference takeaway, is gaming. And they're talking about the onboarding of gaming and how that's coming down the line. And Immutable X is there, and like they had a pretty big booth, and it was really fun. They actually had a like an old school arcade setup, and you could play like, I don't know, 150 different Nintendo 64 games. I played, was it Tekken? I think it was Tekken or something like that. And I was just playing by myself against the computer. I was losing, and then another girl came on and she started playing me. She destroyed me, and I'm like, all I can say is my buttons didn't work. I'm going to totally use the console as a scapegoat because legit it was wonky, but it was cool. It was cool to see Immutable X there, and I will talk about some of the games that were actually um, uh, being demoed there, and that was a lot of fun. So the next one was CLO is their name. So CLO, they are kind of like a fashioned. So this was their card here, CLO. I'm gonna scan that but they're like an NFT fashion brand. It was interesting because what they were doing is getting they are partnering with a lot of the high profile brands because they've built out the digital versions of these already for a lot of their companies to use as demos, in presentations and things. So they've already built that out, and they're like, well, what if we made these as NFTs? And so now what they're doing is they're working with a lot of the different metaverses and getting the APIs and the codes to be able to then your avatar can put that on and then walk into any other metaverse and keep that. So interesting use case, I guess. If you want that Gucci bag and you're gonna be able to port that around, like that is a social flex that you can do, and especially if it's well recognized and a lot of these metaverses are accepting that. It's gonna be very interesting to see how some of these metaverses, if they decide to be like more like, hey, we just want our content in here, as opposed to like, hey, I think it's a better idea to open it up, because if you can open it up and there's that cross-pollination, you're going to get more people in, and more people are going to come and check out what's in your metaverse and do that. So interesting project there. One of the things that I thought was so funny, and I kind of touched about this like on day one, but like it wasn't just like the speakers, but there was like accounting and tax firms and law firms, right? And like a lot of them there. And I did not see that at all. And maybe I missed it, but like I didn't see that at all last year. And this is what I think is so important. And I'm gonna bring this into the conversation because at the end of talking about all of these different projects, I do want to touch on the Paul Barron video that just came out, kind of analyzing a lot of VV and the concerns that they were pointing out there. So, but anyways, there's a lot of these NFT projects that they have not abided by the compliance regulations, consumer protection laws across the world, right? And these guys are selling all over the world, and that's why you're starting to see these law firms and they're trying to build out like a regulatory compliance management system for these projects and saying, hey, you have to think about this when you are looking to build this, because at some point the regulations are coming. And if you haven't done it right, even if you're a moderately successful project. So I spent quite a bit of time actually with this one law firm just talking about securities tokens. And actually, like, I gave them the use case of Vivi and their NFTs. And I'm like, would you consider their NFTs securities? And again, this is not legal advice. This was just a conversation I was having. He would have to have all of the, everything. And I just gave him like a summary of what it was. But basically he was like, I truly would compare that like more towards like collectibles. And he said, and this guy used to work for the SEC, and he said, there was a joke that basically we could make anything a security, which did not give me warm fuzzies. But he said, but we took it pretty serious and we didn't do this. He does feel like Gary Gensler is going way overboard and a lot of overreach. And he thinks that that's intentional, where they're doing this intentional overreach and they're going to bring it back in and scale it back. But they will target some companies there. And so it's very important to have that. And that's one thing that VV is doing, right? They are working with the anti-money laundering laws and really trying to understand what's happening there, whereas a lot of projects aren't. And that takes a lot of time to build out. So when people are like, oh, the payout system, this is so easy. Why is VV taking so long? Well, if you rush it, I promise you, you're going to get dinged, and it could be very, very costly. So it was interesting to see so many like accounting firms and attorneys and accountants there with booths, right? And they're like, hey, NFT projects, come talk to us and let's make sure that you have that there. So another one that I thought was pretty dang cool was Roadhounds. Welcome to the Metaverse Rock Club. And it was like these rockers, right? And they have built like this app, and you can have this avatar. And yeah, Rock and Roll 3.0, I thought was pretty funny. Trying to get that in the frame there. But it's pretty simplistic what they're doing, and they're just starting. And I think that this is so smart. You see some projects that just are going, they're trying to do too much all at once, and that can really harm projects long term, because someone comes in, if there's too much and it's overwhelming, then people, there's, even if they have a large group of people, if they're all over the place, then it seems pretty empty. And so it's important to kind of build just like a small little thing. And I think that that's what Vivi is doing, actually, is they are building like this updated showroom, and it's going to be bigger. And like, I'm hoping that we can have our avatars, we can go visit that space, but it's going to be smaller ish, right? There'll be smaller groups that can come in and do that. And that's what these guys are doing. So they're like, we're focused on rock and roll. There's a lot of people who are interested, and you can create your avatar, and you can look at other avatars and be like, hey, they're kind of wearing like things that like I'm interested in, or they're represented there, and there's different like little groups. But you can hear live bands play, you can record, you can actually invest in artists, musician artists. So I'm going to look at that a little bit more. I found that to be very interesting. Let's see. Okay, so another one was NFT Track. So this is interesting for anyone who's really interested in NFT flipping. Basically, they're going to be able to start tracking the wallets of some of these, and you can already do this, to be honest, if you're savvy enough. You can track wallets and create bots and things and track, and there are like tracking bots out there, but this is a lot more user friendly, where you can track wallets and see what they're trading and be like, I want to mimic these trades, and I can get these notifications. Not something I'm particularly interested in. Like for me, I typically go into NFT projects, I do the research, and it's more of like a foundational approach and like understanding. I have done some flipping when I think that there's hype and I can make some money. I've made some good money and I've lost money when you make the wrong bet. But that was an interesting project. So one of the big ones here that I wanted to shout out, and I don't know if Soul Woo is here. I don't see any comments. No comments yet on the stream. Hopefully people can comment, or I'm just not seeing anything. Does anyone want to shout out? I mean, I see people in the channel, but I'm definitely not seeing any comments yet. But so we'll like, I keep teasing as he's a Cardano maxi, but for some people who maybe have watched my channel or watched me on other people's channels, I've talked about cornucopias. They are a metaverse project. There we go, Truck and Hank. Appreciate that, man. So there's this metaverse project out there, cornucopias, that like I'm super into, and they're building out their tokens done really well during the bear market. It's been incredible. They're coming out with a racing game here pretty soon. I have a lot of their vehicle NFTs, and let's see. Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit more too about the NFTs. I also talked about the OMI token, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more in just a sec. But so this project, it's called Grab It here. Like, and I just got my picture. They didn't really have a card, but like I talked to these guys for about 45 minutes, and what they're building is, and I think that some people kind of forget like how new we still are. Cardano really hasn't been out, like, I mean, the chain and a lot of use near as long as Ethereum has. And so they're building the first auction platform on Cardano. And I do have quite a few Cardano NFTs. And right now it's just like I go to the JPEG store. JPEG store is great, no complaints there. But all I can do is list my token or my NFT there. And and that's it. Like, and if no one buys it, then no one buys it. And it's like, well, then I can lower the price, but what if I lower it too much, right? So the price discovery isn't there. And I think that that's so important. We have that on VV, right? Like those auctions. I think that that's extremely important to be able to have. And so they're building that out there. And I'm extremely interested to be able to list some of my NFTs there and kind of get that price discovery. I think that that's going to help build out not just Cardano, but like the whole ecosystem as they continue to build out and projects continue to build. I like that rising tide lifts all boats. And so, okay, I'm going to jump back to this. So the token, I specifically talked to him and I said, hey, so this company did this raise. It was like a capital raise, and they gave tokens as recompense, right? But as a U.S. individual, you couldn't participate in that raise. So they kept it outside the U.S. But now U.S. individuals can buy the token, and are there concerns there? And here's a couple things, and I wrote it down on my notes here. That I thought was very important. So first and foremost, the SEC has limited resources. They don't have infinite resources. So they're going to go over the biggest projects, towards the biggest projects. And he's like, a company doing digital collectibles like for Disney and Marvel, like that's a bad look to go after them, to be honest, first and foremost, to call those a security, especially because they're calling them digital collectibles. I showed him the Cookie Monster AR. He was tripping out. He thought that was pretty dang awesome. So we talked a little bit more about VV. But let's see. Okay. So I said, let's do worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, the OMI token's considered a security. I'm like, what happens at that point, right? And basically, he's like, they have to file an S1, which is a registration statement, which is not cheap. It's a couple $1 million, he said. They would have to have annual audits done. They would have to put out financial statements and things. But he says it's doable, and he's like, it just depends on if the company is making enough money to do that. And that actually made me pretty. Like, I obviously don't want the token be called a security, but it makes me feel good that if it was, like, I do believe that VV has the resources to be able to become compliant. And that's so important. There's so many projects out there that aren't doing that, guys. There's so many, like, they talk about HRO, HR is dope. Like, I bought some HRO cards and have some of their NFTs. But like, are like, and maybe those are trading cards too, but that digital physical, like those concerns, are those considered securities? And like, I just don't know, guys. Like, all I can say is compliance, I think, is going to be such a big deal in the next 2 years. And the companies that aren't going to do that will either fall by the wayside or will take massive hits in their valuations of their companies until they can get things straightened out. So, yeah. Abe, shout out to you, Abe. I'm still loading on me. I am too, man. Like, I'm going to talk about that Paul Barron review, which was pretty scathing, right? But I'll touch on that in a little bit. Ada had the same FUD storm. This is what I wanna bring up. There's two things. So first of all, Ada. It got called vaporware. I literally heard the OMI token called vaporware a week ago on Spaces. They were like, why does it have this large market cap? It's just vaporware. There's nothing to it. And I'm like, currently, correct. Like, there's not a lot of utility there. You can use it for, Sengoku Tengu or whatever that is, that game. And, if you have $200 worth of OMI, there's that other platform that, very, very, very limited. I wouldn't even really call it utility at this point, but they are building that out. And the expectation is that they're going to do that. They have been slow on a lot of the things that they have laid out, but they have eventually gotten there. I think that that's so important, but I'm going to share my screen with you real quick. I think that this is extremely important. So, Abe is talking about Ada. So Ada let's see, hold on, let's share my screen. Well, the first one that I'm going to bring up actually is this token, the Gene token, Genomes DAO. So Crypto Rain and I covered this. I mean, Crypto Rain covered it on his channel. I did the research. This project reached out and they're like, hey, we'd like you to talk about us. And we're like, yeah, like, we don't just talk about anyone. Like, we'll do the research. And if it makes sense, yeah, then we can talk about your project. So, all right. So we talked about it, right? And like, I bought some around here, and I love the use case for this token. Basically, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of 23 and Me, but basically you get genetic testing and you can find your ancestry, right? And they're saying this token was like, hey, we will store that genetic coding in this app, and then we are partnering with massive research firms across the world that would love to get snippets of your data. And this is like, it's not going to have your name. All we'll have is like your gender, your race, and then like certain things. And if you fall within that certain criteria, then this research company will reach out and say like, hey, would you be willing to unlock a little portion of your genetic coding so that we can see this? It's going to help us with research and developing medicines or cures or whatever for that research, and we'll pay you for it. Because what people don't know is 23andMe, if you do that test, it's great. You get that genetic history back, but then they sell your data to those research companies. You don't own it. You don't make anything. In fact, you paid for the test, and then that company profits off you. And I'm like, I love that. Like, this is part of like decentralization and ownership of your own stuff, right? And so I was like, yeah, we definitely should cover this. So the price, the price, right, from like 20 cents, like, I mean, 16, 17 cents, all the way down. And look at this volume. Okay, so 0002, the volume 18 cents. It was dead. Everyone called it dead. And yet they continued to build, right? Like, they were building, they had the funds. And now DeSci, or decentralized science, has kind of hit a narrative, and this token has just gone bonkers, right? I didn't sell any of my tokens. I'm like, I believe in this long term, and either it goes to zero, and that's how I am. A lot of times I do the research and I'm like, there's a fundamental use case here that makes absolute sense. They are solving a problem. And the founders were doxxed. Like, it hit a lot of those things that I think are very important when researching any sort of project. And then it pumped. But like, look how long December, right? So it was just on a continuous downtrend. People must have thought it was dead, right? And it took a freaking year, over a year, for this token to kind of come back to life. Cardano was the same thing. Cardano, it got all the way up to 70 cents. There was a lot of excitement, and then the bear market hit, and there was continued delays on ADA. People were like, Charles Hoskins, the founder, he doesn't care. He's a liar. This is a rug pull. Like, ran the gamut of like everything that we've heard in Vivi. Like, people were saying about Cardano, and it went all the way down. So I'm going to pull up Cardano here just a sec. And we can look at Cardano too. And I mean, Cardano right now, right, is the 7th largest token by market cap. Okay, so let's dig into this history here, right? We're gonna go to max. So it got up to like, yeah, $1, and this isn't gonna show it, but it literally got actually, oh, maybe it will, down to 1.7 cents, and maybe it won't show it. CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, sometimes they're able to show it for a long time, right? So July of 2018, it was like 12 cents, and it took all the way to January of 21. So 2.5 years, right? Like, it took before the token started to skyrocket. And through all this time, there was a lot of anger and frustration, like we're seeing now, community attacking one another and being like, you're idiots for believing this project. It is vaporware. It's just a rug pull. And look, like, I think for me, fundamentally, I think that OMI has a very strong use case. There have been missteps. There have been delays. And that's concerning. And I do think that they need to change some things, and I feel like they are. I feel like they are changing some things there. All right, so then we got Gabe. Hey, I appreciate you, Gabe. I appreciate everyone for watching. Honestly, like I love it. I'm glad that I'm adding value. And again, throw questions in here. I'd love to cover stuff. If you guys have specific questions about that Paul Barron video that you want me to address, I'd love to touch on that as well. So in 2 to 5 years, do I think that OMI reaches 7 to 13 cents? I don't know. Okay. Could it? I do believe it could. I don't know if it will, but I do believe it could if we get all of the OUP and MCP completely rolled out, right? We get a lot of these app glitches, like people getting randomly kicked out and having to log in and get logged out, they log in and stuff. Like that stuff's got to stop. That's fundamental stuff. We have a search bar. I've been pretty pleased with the search bar. There's some people who still feel like it isn't completely fixed, but it's a lot better than it used to be. But kind of fine tuning some of this simple stuff there. So getting that out of the way, right? And then really integrating the OMI token. That has to happen. All aspects of the OMI token have to be there. But once they are, and we truly start seeing that circulating supply start to drop, and there is utility with the token where there's demand for the token. If you can hit all of those things and the VV machine really starts churning and there's more, I also think that it's going to have to be in tandem with an upswing in the market, like a positive sentiment. We're seeing that in the crypto market overall, and it's tough to watch Bitcoin breaking 30,000, right? And OMI like dropping in price, but it's still not there. The use case isn't there. And you know what? Was also moving during this time at points, Bitcoin and ETH. And I can imagine the frustration of all the people who believed in Cardano just holding during this time and being like, man, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? And then bam. Now look, there's a bear market again. This is the number 7 market cap, right? And it was at 10 cents, and it's a 3x from where it was 2 years ago, right? OMI token is still substantially up from where it was 2 years ago. So I don't know. I think that it's very important to look at everything in context, and almost all tokens have dropped significantly. Some are still going down, or they're trading sideways. Some are up, right? And I look at Cardano, and during this time, there was a lot of tokens that were actually going bonkers. Now, the one difference I will point out is that VV has been on a continuous downtrend. We didn't see this with ADA, right? So that is concerning, and I do have to agree with Paul Barron is if it continues to dip, like that does become a concern. Abe, you're the best. Rumor has it FTX is planning to relaunch. Does it mean OMI token getting listed? I hope that's a joke. There's no way anyone is going to trust that name, FTX. Like, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. So anyone who's like, I just don't think that gets off the ground if that's a real thing. I'm sorry. And like, I was kind of teasing. So Mr. Wonderful, right? Kevin O'Leary, even after all of the fraud and everything, he's like, Sam Bankman-Fried's a genius. I would hire him again. And so Mr. Wonderful bringing on he's doing this massive investment in like oil. And I'm like, I wonder if he's going to hire SBF once he gets out of jail as the CEO. I mean, it's like, he's so tainted. You can't touch it. The name FTX is tainted. So I do not believe that FTX is going to relaunch. If they do relaunch, I don't think it's going to do well. And so I don't think that OMI token would get listed there either. Hardest decision during this bear is Vader or token. I think if you collect what you love, first and foremost, you're always going to win. There are certain things where I'm like, look, if this goes to 0, the Voltron set, like I love Voltron. I love Voltron growing up. So like I bought the Voltron set. It's significantly down. I don't care. It's fun. It's fun to play with. I wish that like there was a mechanism where I could take each one of the the lions and actually construct him. That would be a cool animation. Josh, we do have ETH is pumping, right? And there was concerns with that the Shanghai, this hard fork coming and people being able to withdraw from their staking. Was there going to be a lot of people who unstaked and wanted to sell and they didn't, and so the ETH price pumped once people realized, because there's that hesitation, right, where they're like, well, I don't want to buy if there's going to be a lot of dumping into the market. But now that there wasn't a lot of dumping in the market, that money that's sitting on the sidelines is like, all right, now I'm in, which is then causing that price run. Only Child, I heart you too. I'm appreciating all the love here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Paul Barron video that just released. And I have to say they made some good points. I've been vocal about the fact that I do think that VV still currently needs to market more to the Web3 people. The Web3 people are what made VV a success in the first place. And during a bear market, it's your community that matters the most. And right now the community is the Web3 community. And so a lot of the about faces that they've done with interoperability, the pushbacks, the delays, it's not a good look. And then on top of that, like really trying to market to the Web2 people instead of focusing on what's going to make the Web3 people happy, at least at this point in time, it's not good. One of the things, though, that I have to say that was, I didn't like that there was no positive comments in that video. And I'm like, really? You couldn't find a single positive thing to say overall? Like, or maybe you had one positive thing to say, but I'm like, I do think that they, like the AML, BSA stuff, they are trying to get that right. I do think that we are starting to see them hire more people and build out. It has been slow, and I'm hoping that they continue to scale. They do need to scale, but man, Mitch has been crushing it, right? Like, I mean, I am like, and I do believe that, look, we've heard Alex say, in Mitch we trust. I think that the team is starting to realize, like, we have got someone that the community trusts that's doing a lot to move us forward and progress. And I believe that they're going to enable him some more. So if he's asking for more resources or whatever he needs to focus on, and one of the things, right, that Mitch knows needs to happen is the complete integration of OMI into the ecosystem. So do I think, I'm going to jump back to this, 7 to 3 cents in a bull run, things go crazy. Look, OMI went to 1.2, 1.3 cents with no utility. No one even really knew much about the project. Now, there was a lot of tokens that hadn't been unlocked at that time, so the market cap was different. But we're going to get those burns, and if it hits the right momentum in the right if they hit that bear market the bull market at the right time, and they're in that conversation, they're doing things right in the VV verse. That's the other thing I hadn't talked about. But if the VV verse really starts working, there's a lot of people actually interacting in the VV verse. I absolutely believe that it could reach that in 2 to 5 years. So I'm not saying it will, but could it if certain factors come into play? Absolutely. They are so behind on everything. Anything good seems meh, in my opinion. I get it. I don't think that that's the right way to look at it, though. I think that we have to look at the negative and say that's an issue, and look at the good and be like, that is a positive. And we have to give them credit for that and balance that out as we fully analyze the situation there. So that's something to take into consideration. So here's the other topic that I think is extremely important about interoperability and ownership. A lot of people in the Web3 space, right? I just said that a lot of VV's community is Web3 and they want interoperability. I want interoperability. And there is a contingent of the VV family that really wants that. I do believe that there's a larger contingent that doesn't care, that they really don't care. But I care. I want it. But there are risks with the interoperability that I don't think that people either understand or like they just haven't thought about. And that's going to lead us to GoblinTown. So I don't know, and I'm assuming some of you have seen the images on GoblinTown, and hold on here, I'm gonna pull this up because it kind of freaked some people out. Let's see, pulling up. Okay, I'm trying to see if I can find this image here because it is definitely provocative, right? Hold on, do I got my screen up here? Okay, yeah, so we got that. So I'm still just trying to pull up okay, here it is, right? So here's this image. Excuse the language there. F royalties, F supporting builders and creative. So this is the image now that is on all GoblinTown NFTs and their Grumples, right? The derivatives of it. This is the image. And they're like, honor the flipper, F the community, long live the slow rug. You can tell that these people are quite upset with what's been happening. Is a lot of these people, these flippers, are trading on Blur where there are no royalties. And so this project is losing out on a lot of money as that's being done. And they're like, you know what, screw that. And they posted that, and basically they're saying, we are going to burn these tokens. All of the GoblinTown tokens that you guys have right now, they switched the image. All of them have that same image there, and they are minting new tokens on a contract that will enforce royalties and not allow people to trade on platforms. There will probably still be ways around it, but it's going to be a lot more difficult. And people are like, wait a second, can they do that? I thought that NFTs, right, like they were immutable and it couldn't be changed. But what a lot of people don't understand is really most NFTs, there are some NFTs that don't fit into this, but most NFTs, all that's really there on the chain is the token and the metadata. And then there's information pointing to a server that says, hey, go retrieve the image for this specific token on this server. Well, the owners, the creators of these NFT projects, they own those images and they can change them like we just saw. Now, there are going to be some caveats there, right? And it's all going to depend on the level of rights that the project issues to their community when they're minting this out. So Bored Apes was revolutionary in basically assigning the IP rights to their community and saying, you have the right to take your ape and monetize it, right? If you want to put it in a commercial, you get all of the money for putting it in a commercial. And they thought, if we do this, that will actually help the brand, because as people do spend the money to try to monetize or put their Bored Ape on a salsa bottle or whatever, it's going to get more exposure and people are going to ask. And it worked phenomenally, right? But there are other NFTs like our Disney NFTs, right? Where even if we were able to take them outside of Vivi, I can't take my Todd McFarlane Batman, or I can't take my Steamboat Willie and slap it on a picture with like mint number, 325 and put that on a salsa bottle and sell it, right? Like I don't have those rights. Those aren't given to me. But Vivi has done this in the past too, right? If you remember that Mermicorno that initially was just, it was still, and then they animated it, right? They went back and animated it. And the Todd McFarlane Batman, they went back and updated the graphics on the Todd McFarlane Batman. For those of you who weren't there, like in the early days, like the Todd McFarlane Batman, the shading was dark. It was tougher to see, and they definitely updated it. And they can update those images because again, it costs a lot of money to actually take that image and place it in the blockchain, because it's a lot of data that takes up a block. And so if you're going to trade that NFT, it becomes very cost prohibitive to do so. So here's some of the pros and cons with interoperability. And I do know that there are some people like myself, like who are aware of the risks, but even still, like you have Des Bryant, right? He got hacked. A Bored Ape got hacked, hundreds of thousands of dollars. That can wreck people. It can absolutely wreck people. Yep, he can afford it. But what about the people who can't? Like I've seen some people who are just devastated because they got hacked. And they were just like, can someone please help me get this back? And honestly, like Web3, like you can go to law enforcement, which is Web2 rules, right? But and they might be able to apprehend, but it's gone, right? Like it's been traded, it's been sold, then OpenSea kind of locks it down, and then it's tainted. And so there are a lot of risks with interoperability, and I think that people should also be aware of that. And but I do think that Vivi should have the option and provide the information and the education necessary, and saying, look, like, we're going to provide you this. It's up to you. You're an adult. You make the decision. But like once you leave our ecosystem, no holds barred. You could get hacked. You could send it to the wrong address and burn it forever. And that's on you. And are you willing to do that? So I do agree that, like that was one of the things that Vivi really talked about is interoperability. And to Paul Barron's credit, he said that a lot of projects, and this is true, I've invested in a lot of projects, and they're like, here's what we think is going to happen. Here's our roadmap. And once they get into the nitty gritty of things, they're like, we're going to have to pivot. We're going to have to change. And I'm wondering, as they started to have these conversations with the IP, that most of the IP was like, we're not ready. We're not willing to do that. And so they're like, well, we need to rethink this strategy before we release any of our IP. Now, is that the right move? I don't know. Again, I'm for interoperability, but it was a concern because a lot of people are feeling like there's this distrust in the leadership. And so I guess I want to point out this, that I don't feel like anything that the Paul Barron video said was wrong in some of the criticisms that they pointed out. I think that they made some very solid points, and I do think that Vivi is working on that. I do think that they need to scale for how much money they're coming in and all the IP and they're trying to build out. Like, we do still have some pretty big quality control issues. The Tarzan with the eyes missing. I mean, that's just a perfect example. It's like, because then there's others like that. Back to the Future, like, train is freaking beautiful. So like, what's going on? Like, there definitely needs to be a standard that's met, and there needs to be quality control, checking out all these things so that it doesn't get released. And then people are like I just bought this $60 Tarzan, and when I look at it from a certain angle, like, he's got no eyes. Like, that's not good. But when I take a step back and I look at everything, I think that Mitch is building some, like, I really like what Mitch is doing. I do think that they are slowly and picking up steam, addressing a lot of the concerns that the community has. I think that's very important. And I want to continue to wait and see. I want to see when the VBverse comes out, what does that look like, right? And how long is it going to take for the VBverse to come out? And how usable is it? Those are big things. And each step along the way, I'm trying to make that assessment and say, does it still make sense? Does it still make sense from an investment standpoint? Are there still collectibles? Whether or not it makes sense from an investment standpoint to continue to buy OMI or buy what I think is like high profile NFTs, as opposed to NFTs that I just like really enjoy. I still want like the colored R2D2. I don't have that one yet. I want to get that. I love Star Wars, and I freaking love, like, I want that. And I want to show my kids that, right? So let's see. I'd rather delays and things done correctly than be on time and not be up to standard. I agree. The frustrating thing is there have been so many delays that any additional delay at this point, I think Vivi loses people. Like, not necessarily for good, but for a while. And that's not helpful to them. But I agree, Terry, like delays, it's the transparency thing. Look, when I had Hello K on the channel, and if I listened to the majority of complaints, so much of it would be addressed if they were just more transparent and better at communication with things. So, for example, right, with the Dumbo poster thing, if they would have made this statement beforehand and been like, there has been an error. We are reaching out to the individual to try to come up with, with something that works for both parties. That didn't happen, right? Like, apparently they did try to communicate with the individual. Like, I don't know. But then they just locked the account down and they took that back, right? So there, even then, like, there are some things that, like, just the way that they handle it, it's not a good look. And right now is definitely not the time. this is the building time. I'm sitting there, I'm looking at all these projects that are still here, and a lot of them are building, and they're building to get ready for the bull market when a lot of money is coming. And so I do believe that Vivi is starting to make that turnaround. I do still think we have some time before like a bull run, really a true bull run starts. And I'm really hoping that they can get that together beforehand. So then we got Josh saying, they hit a lot of good points for sure. I'm hoping the team comes through and delivers the goods. MCP, OUP, Viviverse, exchanges, and self-custody. Exchanges is a big one too. You need those exchanges for liquidity. The easier it is for a token to be purchased, the easier it is for the token to be sold. And that creates that liquidity, that buy and sell pressure. And so, Bitforex, like that's the best we got. That's not good. That it's a pain. It's a pain to get there, and the trading pairs there, it's rough, and so definitely needs more exchanges. Yeah, right. How's it been, man? Like I'm with you. Like that the R2D2 is so special. May the 4th got them hyped up, right? I don't know if you guys saw that accidental release of what looks like what's his name? It's a trap. Admiral Akbar, right? So yeah, apparently like in May, they're like there's gonna be 3 drops, and one of the collectibles is or 3 characters for 1 drop, and one of them is Admiral Akbar. If that's to be believed, if that was like an accidental release, there's some alpha there. And I saw that through Sergio Collects, like his tweet. I thought that was important. And JoJo's right too, right? New exchanges are going to bring new people, new eyes to the project, and not just to the token. Right, they will look at the token and they'll read the explanation of the description of what it is and be like, "Huh, what's this Vivi app, guys?" When I showed people the Vivi app and I'm like, "This is an NFT," like here, and it's funny because Block, like, and to a certain extent, Block is right. A lot of Web3 people are very much about self-custody and ownership, and if they hear about like the walled garden, they want nothing to do with it. Like, I'm not going to disagree with that, but at the same time, there are people like that don't care as much about that are also here in this conference. And when I showed them those NFTs and the animation and putting it in AR, they were tripping out. They were like, that is actually like really, really cool. My kids would love that. And I think the more people that get exposure to the token and do that research are going to do that, because that's where a lot of people get their first exposure to the Vivi app. And that's why I'm saying a lot of the Vivi community is Web3, is because they find Vivi through the OMI token. Now, not everyone, right? A lot of people got onboarded through the Golden Moments drop. And those partnerships are also important and can bring on a lot of normies, Web2 people, whatever you want to say. But the other day, I bought 1K worth of OMI, pushed up the price 2%. You're a whale. Man, if you're buying enough OMI to push the 2% price up 2%, that's concerning. Any one person, especially not necessarily a whale, pushing up the price, and that volatility is not good. It's not good, and we do need that liquidity there. So anyways, like I just wanted to share. Oh, let's see. I want to make sure that there weren't any other projects here. I feel like there was one more that I'm missing that I wanted to go over. So any other questions or comments or anything? And you know what I've seen? I think it's important to, and I've started to see a little bit less of a dampening of the FUD coming in, because I've started to see people be like, I'm not going to join those spaces, and I'm just going to block those people. I do think it's important to listen to criticism, but when all they do is they troll, they attack people, just constantly attacking people, and all they can do is complain about the project, and they don't see any progress. And no matter what Vivi does, like nothing is good enough. To me, I don't feel like they are being impartial either, and that's detrimental to like someone's mental health. If they are invested in a project and they are listening to these people, and all those people are doing is pointing out the bad, and like that's not healthy either. Right. So make sure, like, and I've kind of seen some toning down as people are like, oh, like no one's joining my spaces, or there's a lot less people in my spaces. Like I'm not going to talk about that as much. Yeah, so try to follow the people that are going to just keep it real, and that's why I do like Block. I do think that overall he keeps it real. I think he's a bull in a china closet with the way he kind of attacks things. And I don't necessarily agree with him all the time, but anytime that you can listen to people like that and get like a full-on perspective, it's important. But regarding Omi, like I am still buying Omi. I think that these prices, this is again not financial advice, something I'm doing. I'm buying it. If people want to come out to see NFT, I mean, not CNFT, that's Cardano, but the NYC NFT next year, I would recommend, unless you're really coming to just learn more about this space in general, first of all, don't buy the VIP ticket. Not worth it at all. I'm pretty irked at like the stuff that you get as VIP. It's laughable. For the price that you're paying compared to just like the general admin ticket. But you get some cool swag. Like I love my Immutable X stuff. It was Cardano Freudian slip. I like Cardano, don't get me wrong. And that's the thing, diversify, people. Like I love VV, but like you got to diversify. Learn more about this space, learn about other projects. Okay, I'm going to give a little shout out. I have to give a shout out here. To this project that I think has done so for anyone into sports, here, let's see, Sports Lion Club. Let's see, club. Why are they not popping up here? Oh, because I'm in Truth Labs tweets here. Okay, Sports Lions Club. So this is a sports project. And let me pull this back up. Okay, Sports Lion Club here. They made a little list of some of the actual utility that these guys have offered, and it's pretty impressive. They are still building, and like they haven't minted out. To my knowledge, the floor right now, 007 ETH, like $15 or something. Not expensive, but like, okay, so let's look at some of this stuff, right? So to join the club, you just buy a Lion Club NFT, you join their Discord, you can verify it. And let's see what they're doing here. Let's see. Oh, I thought that was the thread. So they've given out events to a hospitality box in Azteca Stadium, Mexico for soccer. There's been in real life meetups, in real life tickets. It is a great community. Everyone's pretty friendly. They've done Q&A sessions with like Roberto Carlos of Real Madrid, with Floyd Mayweather, right? Where the community gets to ask them questions that are interviewed. And if your question gets asked, right, like you get something in return. They've done $5,000. I won some money in their fantasy football league at the NFL Pick'ems. So I don't know. There's projects out there that like can keep you entertained, and while some of your other projects aren't doing as much, and I think that does help with the mental health. Now I know that not everyone like can spread their money around, and I get that, but look for other projects, even if you're just looking at them. Broadside, like I've loved being in Broadside, and I'm so devastated that they had a meetup and I just didn't catch it in their Discord, and I didn't get a picture with them. But that's like, there's so many communities out there. There's a lot of projects, and I think that if you're able to diversify, some projects aren't going to work out, and that's okay. Like, because it's all about the overall picture. As like, if you're investing in these projects, if that's your mindset, overall, are there certain projects that are doing better than others? There might be some that are down, but there can be some that are up. Most NFT projects right now are down. They're down. Bored Ape, down, right? From the bull market. Like, even like, everyone looks at Bored Ape, and rightfully so, right? As this like industry leader, they're still down, and they're still building. They're doing great things. So the more that you can diversify, I think, just mental health wise, the better you're going to be, and the easier it is for you to hold through turbulent times. Now, there are times to jump out of projects. For me, with Omi and Vivi, this is not the time. Cardano on to mine. Okay. Well, that's all, everyone. I don't know. Oh, let's see. Shout out to Terry Collins. He just hit 8 million OMI. Like, that's awesome, man. And look, if OMI turns it around, like, and I want to use the OMI for staking. I want some of those prizes. I want those rare NFTs that I think you're going to get, like those complete sets as part of the OMI utility program. So, hey, I would love it if you guys would comment in the channel down below some of the topics that you guys would like me to cover. I know that I'm going to be meeting up with some people tomorrow night, so I don't know if I'll be able to do a live stream tomorrow. It might be like a Saturday or something where I'm able to stream and talk about like the final day. And I'm going to post some pictures of just like NFT NYC, like some of the videos and stuff like on my channel. But anyways, please, again, hit the like, comment, subscribe, and help me grow the channel. And again, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you again soon. Peace out.